Hey everybody, Ray here. You know, like a lot of you, I have a bunch of extension cords. I have shorter ones, I have slightly longer ones, I have extensions that go into a three-way plug, and then I have another 100-foot extension here, and this thing is a pain in the butt to unroll and roll back up. I've decided I'm going to move away from these. I'm going to go to a retractable extension cord. And I found this one here made by a company called Dewenwils. I want to be transparent here. I did receive this from Dewenwils, but I promise you, I will give you a straightforward and honest review. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, you're going to know. Now, if you look at these on Amazon, you'll find that they'll come in various lengths, like maybe 40 feet. I think Dewenwils actually goes all the way up to 100 feet. And you'll also find that there are different gauge extension cords on there. You can get a 14 gauge, which in the case of Dewenwils, the 14 gauge will handle 13 amps, and there's a circuit breaker in here. So I went for the 12 gauge wire, which has a 15 amp circuit breaker in here, because I'll be using it on a table saw and a miter saw, which both require 15 amps. Okay, so let's unbox this and see what we've got here. This is a pretty sturdy box that it came in. It arrived perfectly without any damage whatsoever. It did have another box around it that was the box that it was shipped in. And then here is the unit itself. You can see that this is the 60-foot version here. It comes with a plug that will allow you to plug in 3 different plugs at one time. And then it comes with a 4.5-foot cord here. And you can see this is pretty heavy. It comes with a 4.5-foot cord for you to be able to plug it into the wall. You can mount this on the ceiling or you can mount it on the wall. In my case, I'm going to go ahead and mount it on the wall. Now, when you pull the cord out, you can hear it clicking, and then it will lock in place, so the cord will stay out here. To get it to retract, simply pull it out and let it pull back and retract. This piece is adjustable, so you could have this hang down 1 feet, 2 feet, 4 feet. If you had it on the ceiling, you might want to have that thing hanging down 4 feet so you can get it. It also comes with a mount that you can mount it on the ceiling or on the wall, and it comes with the necessary hardware to mount it on the wall as well. And then here are the instructions. Now, looking through the instructions that came with it, what they tell you is that you really shouldn't be mounting this on drywall because it's pretty hefty. They actually do include what they call expanding anchors, because you could use these in concrete, which makes sense because a lot of people with a garage might have a concrete wall. You can also mount it to a stud, but the problem to me is that the holes for the mounting bracket would bridge both sides of the stud. So you can only mount one side of the stud and the other side would have to be in drywall. I'm not very comfortable with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount this on this piece of scrap wood that I have. And then I can mount this scrap wood into the 2x4 studs in my drywall. So I'm going to mark where I want the screws to go into my block to hold the bracket so I can pre-drill for those screws. They give you some pretty substantial wood screws here to anchor this bracket to the backing. It's going to be easier if I go ahead and drill the holes for the screws first. Now, the board itself, I've made a line down the very center here. I'm going to connect this to the wall with 3 3-inch screws, which should be more than ample. So I'm going to pre-drill those holes as well. Now, using the large wood screws that they provided, I'm going to go ahead and loosely attach the bracket to the board that I'll connect to the wall. And the reason I say loosely is because these screws are so long that they will actually go through this board. When I'm mounting it, I really don't care. This is just going to go through and go into drywall, so that won't make any difference. But I don't want them sticking out before I actually mount the board to the drywall, because it'll make it difficult to get it mounted. So I put a spacer here, and I'm going to mount it up that much higher so the bracket can swing freely above this bar right here. And I should still have plenty of cord to get to my plug, because my plug is right down there, and I've got 4.5 feet to get there. So we'll check for level again, and we'll go ahead and get this screwed in. Make sure I'm over the studs. Now we need to go ahead and tighten the bracket itself up against the board. All right, we're ready to mount this now, and that is just as simple as lifting this up and dropping it into the slide. There's actually a place right here, you probably can't see it. Right here is a place for a set screw to make sure that this doesn't jump in and out, which I don't think it's going to. So to adjust how much cord hangs out of the extension unit here, you loosen up 2 screws on this little buckle right here, and you slide that down. I don't think I need any more than that. It's right here. I don't have to reach up for it. So I'm just going to adjust it to right there, tighten these screws down, and now when it retracts, it'll be much shorter and not hanging down in my way. Now I've set the camera pretty far back, and what I'm going to do is pull this out and lock it and then retract it. I'm just going to kind of play with it. I'm going to do this about 100 times to see if it fails on me. And I've kind of found that as you're bringing it out, when you get to a click there, you kind of want to just slow it down and it'll hold for you. If you do it too quickly, I have found that sometimes it doesn't want to hold. But I've done this several different lengths, and it always seems to do just fine. And when you want it to retract, you just jerk it and let it retract. And it retracts all the way. I'm going to do that. I've probably done that 25 or 30 times already. I'm going to do that 100 times, different levels of retraction, and see how it does. While I'm running around testing the extension cord, I'll give you a few specifications. Feel free to stop and read these at your leisure. The main thing I want to say is it weighs about 20 pounds and it has 4.9 stars on Amazon. Importantly, the product is UL certified. It lists for $131.99 on the Dewenwils website. But however, check out this great coupon for 18% off. This product has free shipping, a 12-month warranty, and a 30-day money-back guarantee. It delivered to me in about 3 days by UPS. Now for this next test, what I'm going to do is simulate woodworking. So what I will do is, I've got the vacuum plugged in here, I've got my miter saw plugged in here, I'm going to leave the vacuum on, and then I'm going to trigger the miter saw several times. So it seems to be handling the power tools just fine, which is really what I bought it for. Okay, so let me summarize here. First, my appreciation to Dewenwils for sending this to me and allowing me to review it. I think it's a pretty good unit. It's pretty heavy duty. It's got that heavy plastic kind of material that surrounds it, but it's really thick and heavy. It was a breeze to put up. That was no trouble whatsoever. And I found that it worked fine using it on my power tools. You saw I used it on my miter saw with my dust collector running. Had no problem at all handling that load, which is really what I bought it for. And also, I found that after about 100 tries of pulling it out and retracting it, pulling out and retracting it, I'd do it for 10 feet, 20 feet, 25 feet, 3 feet, different lengths. I found that on occasion, as I was getting back toward the end, the last 2 or 3 feet maybe wouldn't retract into the reel. But if I pulled it down and moved it to the side a little bit, it would go ahead and retract right up in there. In fact, one caution I would have for you is when you're letting it retract, hold on to it, because if you just let it go on its own, it's going to fly in there and snap back, and you probably could damage that housing. So you need to be a little careful. But it's a whole lot easier than having to get out all of my other extension cords and then roll them up and put them away. That's just sort of a hassle. And I can be a little lazy about things like that. Hey, I hope this video was helpful to you. If it was, don't forget, give me that thumbs up. It sure helps me with YouTube sharing my videos. Thanks for watching.